Hi, how are you? Hope you're well. Sorry I look a mess. I wasn't planning on filming today. So today I'm here to start a reading vlog that I'm quite excited for, to be very honest with you. So for those of you who do not remember, I really highly recommend you go watch the first vlog in this series, which I will link it down below as always. And last year I read Assistant to the Villain twice. I loved it. It was one of my favorite reads. I just thought it was a silly, fun, great time. And for those of you who don't know, it's actually going to be a trilogy. A few months ago, I don't know exactly how many, but a few months ago, the sequel, book 2 of 3, came out, and it's called Apprentice to the Villain. My library was very difficult about ordering this ebook. Like, my library was difficult getting me this audiobook. I think I had to request it 2 to 4 times, like in that range. I had to request it before they actually bought it, and it was annoying because I requested it twice before it came out, but you can request it within like a month before it comes out. So I did it, unbeknownst to me, 2 months before it came out because I got the date wrong, and then I did it a month before it came out, and then I did it on the day of release, and then I did it like a month after release, and then finally they got me the ebook. So this was a struggle which is why I'm late. But I am finally reading Apprentice to the Villain. I'm very excited. I will be honest, I'm not necessarily in the mood for a silly, goofy time, so I'm interested to see how this book is going to feel when I'm not looking for that. However, I think I'll still love it. Like, I love the first one, and I have the correct expectations going in, so I'm just excited to see. Book 1 did leave off on a cliffhanger, so the villain essentially got kidnapped. Oh, spoilers. Always spoilers for series. The villain essentially got kidnapped by the king, and that's how it ended. And Evie's like, oh, I need to go get him. I've been very much looking forward to this for a year now. I'm very excited to be here, and we're just gonna get right into it. Okay? Are you ready? Okay. So I'm actually 35% of the way through. I'm about 4.5 hours into the audiobook, and I believe it's 12 or around that time. Yeah, it's 12 hours and 14 minutes. Quite a decent chunk of the way through so far. And let me tell you, they retrieved the villain so quickly. Like, he's already back at the castle, like, plot's happening, whatever. It happened quickly, which kind of surprised me because I thought he was gonna be gone for like half the book, honestly. But yeah, he came back. They found a vial of stardust because apparently her mother had stardust magic. Her father is still locked in the villain's jail, and at the end of book 1 there was a knight that didn't kill her. He looked at her, he didn't kill her, he let her live. Turns out that was her brother, who they thought had passed like a decade prior, but he never did. He's a king's guard, and he'd been wanting to leave, so when he saw her, he saved her, and then he came back later, and he's essentially like, let me help you get the villain out, and then if you could just promise me a safe space to live. And so he did that. They're kind of like on strange terms because she's angry with him, obviously, that he never came back and just let them believe that he had been dead this whole time. And so they're kind of growing to know each other again, and she's learning to like him again, essentially. And I'm not really sure where the plot is going, but the stardust magic is a thing now. And so I just think that it's going to be kind of interesting plot wise, but I don't really know what to expect, so I'm kind of just plot wise here along for the ride. In terms of the actual romance, they're both so helplessly in love with each other, hopelessly inept to the other's feelings. Like, it's actually kind of insane. We just got to a part where the villain found a drawing of him and Evie kissing that she drew, and he's like, what is this? And she's like, it's a drawing. And he's like, who are you kissing? And even she's like, Like, even she's confused about how he did not realize it was him, and so she lied, and now he's jealous, and she's loving the fact that he is jealous. It's a lot in like a fun way. I enjoy how just stupid they're being because it fits with the novelty of the book and the silliness of the book. Because again, this series is not meant to be taken seriously at all, in my opinion. It's fun, it's silly, it's goofy. It's just there to have a fun time. That was my gripe last year. A lot of people hated on this book because it was like a silly book and everything, and they didn't go in with the right expectations. And it's just like, books can be a silly fun time. This is a silly fun time. It doesn't have to be a masterpiece. So far, I'm enjoying it. Despite the fact that I'm not in a silly, goofy mood, it's hard not to have fun and just have a good time. And I definitely will be rereading both book 1 and 2 before book 3 comes out, I think, just as a little refresher, because I did forget quite a bit of like the dynamics and characters since it has been a year. So once book 3 comes out, I will definitely be rereading. But so far it's a fun time, and I've slipped back into the world relatively easily. There are just some names that I've forgotten. So when they talk about like Becky, I'm like, who is that? Was she the mean one? And like, it takes me a while to put 1 and 2 together, but that's fine. We're gonna roll with the punches, as they say, and I'm having a good time. I don't really have much to say because I'm gonna be very honest, I did zone out for like the first 10%, just a little bit. I'm catching up. We're having a good time. So yeah. Hi. So I've officially finished Apprentice to the Villain, and I ended up giving it 3.25 stars. So obviously this is a bit of a fall from the original 5 stars that I gave book 1. And honestly, it's because this book fell a bit flat for me. I really enjoyed book 1 last year, as I've said multiple times, and there's an entire reading vlog. I'll have it linked below if you haven't watched that yet. I really enjoyed it. I was very excited for this series to continue, and I was very much looking forward to starting this book. I really loved that this series is just silly and fun and adventurous. There are stakes to it, but it's not dire. You're not sitting there crying your eyes out the entire time, like biting your nails, worrying about your characters. It's just simply fun and silly and just a goofy, fun time where you hope for the best for characters that you enjoy. Honestly, sometimes fantasies can just get a bit too dark, and sometimes I don't want that. Sometimes I want lighthearted, but I still want a fantasy, and I don't understand why I can't have both. And despite my rating, I do still like the series. I will still finish the series when the 3rd book comes out. I'm assuming sometime this year or next. The actual plot of this book just felt poorly planned to me. Book 1's plot felt very fleshed out. The twists were twisty. In moments of suspense, I was worried for the characters, and I was just intrigued. Despite the fact that it's a silly, goofy book, the plot intrigued me. I wanted to know what was happening. I was rooting for the characters. But I didn't feel that for this one at all, really. The plot felt very all over the place, and a lot of things that happened just kind of had me questioning, what is the reason? Why is this happening? How is this applying to the story? I didn't feel any suspense or worry for the characters, because even like the darker moments and the moments where they were trapped or something, it just kind of felt like it didn't feel fleshed out enough to the point where it didn't feel like the characters could just weasel their way out of it. It was just kind of like, yeah, they'll be fine, give it 3 chapters, which I understand there are a lot of books that use character armor where like the main character doesn't die, but that doesn't mean you're still not worried for them, you know? Like, there is so many romances that I've read with 3rd act breakups where I'm actually at the edge of my seat worried if we'll get a happy ending, even though it's a romance book, so obviously we will be getting a happy ending. And same thing with fantasy books, you know? There are so many that I've read where it's like, there's no way they're actually going to kill the main character off, are they? And they didn't, but I was worried about it. And I didn't feel that with this one. I didn't feel worried for any of the characters at any point. There was no suspense. It was just like, they'll be fine, which to me equals poor planning and poor plotting. And then there was a lot of things that happened that just felt convenient and felt unrealistic. And again, I don't look for my fantasies to be realistic. I'm not that delusional, but I mean, there is realistic in terms of, I still expect it to be realistic in terms of that world, you know, and a lot of the stuff that happened is just convenience. Like, oh, you just happen to exactly find what you need the first place you look. Oh, you just happen to find the person that you're looking for because your friend knows them for no reason. Like, everything just felt way too, I'm looking for a synonym for convenient, but my brain's not working, so convenient. The romance was still good though, so I will give this book that. I really love the awkward moments between the villain and Evie, and the romance finally picked up a little bit, and there's more tension and there's more kissing, which was nice. And I find it funny how clueless they are about it. I can see how it could be annoying for some readers, but I just think it's funny, so that didn't really bother me. But overall, I'm quite disappointed with this series, and I don't really know where I stand anymore, because like I said, book 1 was a 5-star and I want to love it, but book 2 just felt like it needed more time, to be quite frankly. It needed more eyes, probably. Maybe a storyboarding buddy. That being said though, I do find that I feel that way with a lot of books sometimes, and I'm just wondering, like, is that just the publishing industry putting way too much pressure on authors these days? Because it really does feel that way, and it's very frustrating, in my opinion. Because how are you going to just not let an author do their thing and put out a good book? But obviously, I don't know. I am in the publishing industry technically, because I'm an indie author, but I'm an indie author, so I essentially do everything at my own pace. Speaking of which, published a book. If you want to read that, it'll be linked below. But yeah, so I'm not in the traditionally published world, so I don't really know the pressure traditional authors get, but it feels like things are being like pumped out massively, and I don't know how authors are writing books in a year. Maybe that's why so many books feel just not well done. So maybe that's not even the author's fault. Maybe she was on a timeline that she did the best that she could with. I don't know, obviously, but I don't know where I stand. I am going to finish the series, but I don't know how I feel about it anymore, and that's disappointing. But I want to know if you read this book, what did you think of it? Because I know in my previous vlog, a lot of people agreed with me that it was just a fun time and that there was no reason for books to be for fantasy books specifically, to be so serious all of the time, and that silly, goofy fantasy books like this are wanted and needed and loved. But were you guys disappointed as well? Or am I just being harsh? Maybe I'm just turning into a critic. I don't know. Please let me know your thoughts. If you like me or my videos, I would really appreciate a like, comment, and subscribe if you feel like it. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Bye.